Welcome back, guys, to Fight Sport Italia. Today we are joined by the CEO of Cage Warriors, Graham Boylan. Graham, thank you very much for joining us. How are you?
I'm very good. I've just arrived from the US to Manchester for the two shows we got this weekend. So, a little jet lagged, but we're here.
The upcoming event in Rome, I like to go back for a moment. I was in Dublin for Cage Warrior 200, and the atmosphere inside the arena was amazing. When you look at that event with that kind of crowd and energy, do you ever stop for a moment and reflect on the journey Cage Warriors has made to reach this point?
Yeah. The atmosphere is at the Dublin events is always electric, but it was really up there with one of the most electrifying shows that we have done over the years when we did Cage Warriors 200. It was special. And it set the bar pretty high for the shows for the rest of the year. But, the fans turn out in different numbers in different cities. So there's a different atmosphere and a different passion in every city we go to. And to be honest, the atmosphere in Rome, when we do those shows in Rome, it's up there. It's similar. It was big fights. There were big fights on that line. It was a great event for everybody.
Huge card, yeah, of course. Good matchup. Over the years, Cage Warriors has become famous for discovering and developing future MMA stars. How would you describe Cage Warriors' role today in shaping the new generation of European MMA talents?
It's no different to what we've been doing for nearly 15 years. If you're competing at Cage Warriors, you're competing at the top of the level that you are fighting at. So you're fighting the best guys in your division, in your territory, Europe or your city. And to get to the top of those divisions shows you are the best of the best in that area. And that is what the UFC are looking for. So we continue to put those fights on. And we continue to develop those guys and get them the right fights at the right time in their career. So Italy, when we started in Italy doing shows, we had a lot of Italian fighters.
Yeah.
But the Italian fighters were always guys who were coming in. They never had a home show. There was nothing really in Italy for them to develop their fan base, because it's expensive to travel to fights. And you see the difference between the interest in a fighter when they fight away versus when they fight at home. Because when we put those shows on in Rome, the whole city comes out to support their guys, and you can see which guys have a following. So it helps their development. And when we do go to a city, the fans come out, the fighters get to see that development with the fans. We get to see the development with the fans and the fighters. So everything kind of mixes in one, and it gives us a bigger picture of what that fighter is and who that fighter is.
Yeah. I think it's very important for the fighters and for promotion also.
Yeah.
And when you look at the list of fighters who came through Cage Warrior, it's impressive. Of course, when we talk about the history of Cage Warriors, one of the most iconic names, beside of Tom Aspinall, Ilia Topuria, Paddy Pimblett, of course, is the notorious Conor McGregor. I'm curious, when Conor was fighting in Cage Warriors, did you already feel that he was special and he was different from the others in some way?
Yeah, everybody at that time on Cage Warriors knew Conor was different because he stood out from the crowd. He stood out in the weigh-ins, he stood out in the production meetings, he stood out at the events. And his fighting style and his finishes and his ability on the mic, they all shone above everybody else. So you could really see there was something there.
Yeah.
And nobody knew at the time how big Conor would be. And nobody knows at any given time how big somebody can be. Like Ilia was in the UFC for a long time before he became a star. He worked his way up, and some guys need to do that. So I believe there's talent and there's a superstar in all these fighters. It just depends on the steps that they take to get where they need to get to before that starts to come out.
Yeah, and personality helps Connors a lot. Yeah. He took over the UFC. Yeah. And so, in your experience, after many years in this sport, what makes you think that a fighter has something special that could become a real star?
So we've discussed this a lot over the years on how we identify guys and how we identify fighters in general. And we kind of look at guys as prospects, you know, in their first couple of fights at Cage Warriors. You know, we see how they do. Because sometimes we bring guys in and, you know, they can't deal with the pace of the show. They can't deal with how fast it is. The lights, the production, the big octagon. It can take some guys out of their game. And, you know, those dreams can get shattered pretty early on before they get going in their career. But then other guys, it doesn't faze them.
Yeah.
It doesn't faze them at all. Nothing phases them. And they go in, they get the finish, they get 2 finishes, done 3 finishes. That's when we start opening our eyes to that individual. And that's when the PR train starts, and that's when the development starts for that person.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. So, do you think now, in this era, the next big superstar is already fighting in Cage Warrior?
Yes, I think there's at least 5 or 6 of them.
Okay.
There's some of them, they're all at different levels though. Some could be down here, they just had 3 or 4 finishes. Some are up here above them where they've consistently finished and they're starting to get a lot of attention. And some are knocking on the door, waiting for a UFC contract. So I think there's a number of guys who are in the promotion right now. And to add to that, there's over 200 guys in the Cage Warriors roster.
Yeah.
It's a big roster for a European organization. So it takes quite a lot to stand out in the crowd to be on Cage Warriors. And again, like I said, you're fighting the best of the best, or the best that's available at any given time.
Yeah. Talking about Italy now. In the last few years, Italy has become a very important market for MMA. And Cage Warrior events have been very, very popular here, as we said. What makes the Italian MMA scene, in your opinion, so exciting for Cage Warrior right now? Is about the fighter, the crowd, the history?
I think it's all three. You know, we specifically do Rome, and we go to Rome because Rome is a fighting city. Okay, historically, you can go back as many years as you want. Rome is a fighting city. And then we look at the fighters. We have a massive Italian roster. There's a lot of guys. There's like 30, 35 plus Italian fighters on the Cage Warriors roster. And again, over the 2.5 years that we've been doing Rome and made it a part of the Cage Warriors schedule, we've watched a lot of those guys develop and come through the steps. And I think over the next year, you're going to see a lot of names maybe move to the UFC, maybe go to Dana White's Contender Series, maybe become Cage Warriors champions. They're all moving in that direction. So
we hope
the crowd, to add to that, the passion in the crowd blew our minds on the first couple of events. You know, it was probably up there with some of the most passionate crowds we've had at events. Wow. They're all there. The crowds are there early. They're in the door as soon as the doors open early. They've got flags. They're getting behind their guys. You know, there's chanting going on across the arena. It's a great atmosphere. And if you're living in Rome and you're not at a Cage Warriors event, you're an MMA fan, you strongly need to get a ticket and go check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. But I think another important development is the Cage Warrior Academy in Italy, which is creating opportunities for young fighters to gain experience and get noticed. What do you think about the work being done by Lorenzo Borgomeo and Aurora MMA in developing the next generation of Italian fighters?
I have nothing but good words to say in what Lorenzo and Aurora are doing, because nobody was doing it prior to we doing the academy there. And Lorenzo has built that from, they did one show, I think in 23. That's where we're on 2.5 years. They're on Cage Warriors Academy 21 or 22 right now, coming up in April. It could be 23 coming up in April.
Yeah.
And that is the ultimate development platform in any country to have, is a Cage Warriors Academy. Because with that academy, you're developing the future. You're developing the guys who are going to be the superstars today for tomorrow. And without it, they don't get the experience. They don't get the legit competition, the feeling, everything that goes with it to get them to make that professional debut. Prior to that academy, there was nothing happening in Italy. There was any shows for anybody to fight on. So a lot of those amateur guys were traveling out of the country to get fights, you know? And the same for the pros. But now they've got that whole ecosystem. They've got the academy to start off in. They've got the Cage Warriors to move into. And, you know, we know where everybody goes when they reach the top of Cage Warriors. So it's a genuine career path to go from the Cage Warriors Academy to Cage Warriors to the big show.
Yeah, and we saw for many years in other countries this system. And now I think in the last few years, Italy is set at the level of England, Spain, France. This is a very, very good system for us. So
yeah, it's good, and it was needed. It was needed.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Italian MMA industry needed it, and you know, some people may like it, some people may not like it, but it was needed.
Yeah, of course. But now let's talk finally about the upcoming event. Cage Warriors return to Rome on April with another stacked card. What can Italian fans expect from this event, in your opinion?
I think this event's going to be a sellout.
Yeah.
Okay, because we have put on. You got to remember, all the Italian stars that are with Cage Warriors right now, they've been waiting for this event since January 1st, since they've come back from Christmas and got back into training. They've been waiting for this event. So there's a lot of hunger and a lot of built-up tension with these fighters. They've been waiting. They're going to be waiting nearly 3.5 months. I expect absolute chaos and intensity from these guys, because they're going to be like lions left out of a cage, but we're actually putting them into one. And you know, there's going to be 16 pro fights. There'll be a 6-fight main card. You've got Stefano Paterno fighting Andreas Binas on that fight. Now, that fight is a UFC-worthy fight. It's one of the biggest welterweight fights we could possibly put on. And both guys said yes the moment each other's name was mentioned. There was no talking. There was no negotiating. They both just said yes. That says a lot for these two guys and what's going to happen with that fight. So the fans are in for a big, big treat with Cage Warriors in Rome in April.
Wow, I think that could be a banger for that night. Yeah, absolutely. So, finally, Italy, as we said, has one of the best MMA crowds in Europe. What do you like to say, the final word to the Italian fans before Cage Warriors return to Rome?
I would say to the fans, get your tickets before they're gone, because I believe there's still a couple of fights to be announced.
Yeah.
And tickets are actually selling really well right now. It's looking like it's going to be sold out. The atmosphere is going to be electric. And this fight card will go down in history for the Rome Cage Warriors events, because the atmosphere that will generate in that arena based on this fight card will be something you do not want to miss. You know, there are some big fights that have ongoing repercussions within title contentions, within Dana White's Contender Series, within, you know, getting to the UFC. There's a lot riding on this Rome card, and you've got maybe 25 Italian fighters on this card. You know, this is for the Italian MMA industry, and it's for the Italian fans. So I'm really looking forward to this event.
Wow, can't wait, man. So, Graham, thank you very much for your time and for joining us today. See you in Rome at Cage Warrior 204, April 11. And thank you again.
Thank you for having me. We'll see you there.
Bye.
Bye-bye.